And this enemy chieftain is lying in his tent. What does she do? This is to encourage your daughters of your country to be brave. She gets a tent peg and drives it through his temple, line 22. I'm not going to find much theology here, but still, it's interesting encouragement for women to be strong, and it's pro-feminist, if you want, that women can do as good as men, if you want to say that. And then Deborah sings a song. Unbind your hair, warriors of Israel, line 5-2. This is a song of Yahweh. I will glorify the Yahweh the God. So the poets are singing about Yahweh the God of Israel. The heavens quaked. The mountains melted. Ah, how many have read the Quran? You know those chapters Muhammad has, and the hills quaked, and the heavens were like a hill of running sand, and things like that. That's already started in this song right here. The heavens quaked, the clouds and the mountains melted. That's what Muhammad's always visioning in the Quran. Always. The hills became a heap of running sand. And then she mentioned Shamgar. This, I think, again, this is a very old song, the same as the song of Miriam is, the same as the Stele is. This is often what the other stories are based on, an old song by Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan, 1300 BC, or Roberta Dylan here. This is attributed to a prophetess. Dead are Israel's villages. Rise up, Deborah, mother of Israel. You who ride on white she-asses, line 10. Awake, awake, Deborah, awake, awake. Take heart, Barak, rise. This is an old battle hymn. Ephraim's princes are in the valley. Benjamin joins your ranks. Zebulon's on. Naphtali in the Barak. Here are the streams of Reuben. Gilead stayed beyond Jordan. Why is Dan in the ships of strangers? Line 17. Asher kept to the seacoast. All the tribes are mentioned here, but interesting, what's Dan doing in the ships of strangers? Dan is allied with the Phoenicians. He's along the coast, so it's not even clear how Dan and the Phoenicians are really different. And that's how Jews got all the way to Spain and Carthage and all these other places, because they were traveling with the Phoenicians in those days of commerce in the Mediterranean in 1200 BC or thereabouts. And this little song references it. Also, there's some anger at Gilead here that will be expressed at the end of the book of Judges. And finally, line 24, not blessed be Mary among women, blessed be Yael among women, the wife of Heber the Kenite, because what did she do? She put a peg in Sisera's head. That's not as nice as what Mary did, I grant you. But it's a different time, a different place, a different culture. It's celebrating her bravery. And so on and so forth. So perish all the enemies. I don't know what the tune of this song was, but it's a very old piece of poetry, music. I'm sure someone sat and sang it with a lyre or something like that. And the land enjoyed rest for 40 years. Oh, that's the refrain. The land enjoyed rest for 40 years. Look, I just want to quickly show you one thing before we finish this up after the break. But if you go over here to the end of this book, you'll see chapter 19. There's a story here, line 9, chapter 19, about how this Levite was traveling around in this Benjaminite area, Gibeah, which is where Saul comes from. That may have something to do with it. My belt is loosening again here, but hopefully. And we have a lot of those problems there, and ultimately we have a story about how the Benjaminites are almost wiped out, and then the Israelites get really angry and go and attack the Transjordanites, I think. I don't know if I'm not mistaken, but we'll see if that's the case. I forget what they did after this. Or maybe not. They just have to check. But there's some problem with Benjamin here that is alluded to. A last point before we have a break. How many have ever heard of the story of Judith in the Old Testament? Not the Judith who waylays who waylays, well, no, that is true. Okay, Judith, and it is a book. I was thinking of Tamar. Getting them mixed up. Judith, how many have read that book of Judith or know the story? It's the same as this, isn't it? Instead of, she's the one who puts the tent peg or something into the head of Cicero or something like that. That's what that story is. So it's another story on this tradition. Now it's Judith. Judith is a female Judah. In other words, Yehudit and Yehudah. Yehudah is the male. So someone has taken that story and Judaized it. You follow what I'm trying to say? And made another story out of it. Well, writers do that all of the time. But the story of Judith, the book of Judith, it's not in the Jewish Old Testament, it's in the Catholic Old Testament. It's in this book too, somewhere I think. It's in here probably. I'm not sure if it should be in here if it's a Catholic Bible. Huh? Yeah, well this should contain the Apocrypha. This is a Catholic Bible we're using here for that reason. It's what the Protestants and the Jews would call the Apocrypha, but I'm not sure I see it in here. Wisdom. I don't see it offhand, but it should be in here some. Oh, here it is, Judith. They've got it before the book of the Maccabees here. They've got it, they've got Tobit. Here's Judith. Yeah, it's a Catholic Bible, so it's based on the Greek Septuagint. I'm not even sure who the enemy is. Oh, it's a different enemy, but it's the same basic story. It's not Sisera. I guess it's Holofernes or someone. In any case, she does that. She goes into his tent and kills him. The same way that Yael does. It may be a different, yeah, it's Holofernes or something. Okay, have a break. Let's go 5 minutes ago. See you in 10 minutes. We'll finish this up. And next time we'll look at the prophets. Amos, Micah, Hosea. Oh, here's we should pass this around before anyone here. Yeah, thanks. About